Hi everyone, I'm attorney Aiden Durham with 180 Law Co. in Denver, Colorado, and you're watching All Up in Your Business. On this episode of All Up in Your Business, I'm going to talk about discrimination, diversity, and inclusion, and why these things should be of the utmost importance for you and your business. But before we get into it, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and don't forget to check the description for some additional information and resources too. Also, be sure to check out my new channel memberships, whoop whoop. For as little as 99 cents a month, you can get exclusive membership-only access to live chats and live video streams and behind-the-scenes videos and a lot more. So be sure to check that join button to check those out. Okay, so why is discrimination and diversity and inclusion so important as a business owner or as an entrepreneur? There are actual legal reasons for why it's important, but then there are also some just kind of general good person or good business person reasons for why it's important too. And of course, these are in addition to the just regular moral, normal, being a good person and, treating people with kindness reasons. Those I feel like are implied, but these are in addition to those. So obviously right now, the stuff is being talked about a lot. Discrimination and diversity is a big topic right now, particularly with the Black Lives Matter movement that's going on currently. And, let me be very clear. These things, not discriminating against people and valuing diversity in your business, these things have always been important things. It's not like they're just now becoming important, but in the current state of our country is bringing these things much more to the forefront, and which I think is a good thing. So it's always been important, but right now we are just learning about how much more important it actually is. Okay, and one quick thing before I really get started, I'm going to be using the phrase "these things" a lot during this video in reference to like inequality and civil rights and discrimination and stuff. But I want to be very clear that I am not saying these things in an attempt to diminish their importance, simply doing it in an attempt to save time. Thank you. Okay, so first, the legal reasons why discrimination and diversity need to be important for your business. Well, federal law tells us that we have to. Federal law under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, as well as the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and the Age Discrimination Act, all of these combined essentially prohibits employers from discriminating against people for the basis of their race, color, religion, sex, age, disability, or national origin. And actually, exciting news as of today, that also includes sexual orientation and gender identity. So not only can we not discriminate based off of gender, but we also can't discriminate based off of gender identity or sexual preference, sexual orientation. So other good news coming about from this. So you, as an employer of people, cannot let any of those factors, age, race, religion, disabilities, none of that affect how you hire, fire, promote, give job responsibilities to your employees. None of those things can affect how you treat your employees or your potential employees. One quick side note, and I kind of don't even want to mention this, but I know the questions will probably come. These laws, for the most part, only apply to employees. They don't apply to hiring contractors or working with service providers or choosing your customers. We do have the right to determine who we want to work with in those capacities, and we can discriminate based off of those certain factors if we choose. So for the most part, these laws are really only specific to employers and employees. But as I'm going to mention soon, you really should act like these laws apply to everything. It's important even if you're not actually legally required. And if you want more information on hiring employees and how to go about that process, check out my old video on how to not interview potential employees. So, as far as the legal side goes, it's really just, important to follow proto, You just got to do what's right, what the law says, and, keep following proto. So second, aside from the legal reasons, there are the good business person reasons. That's what I'm calling them. As we're currently seeing, racial inequality and diversity is a really hot topic, and a lot of businesses are starting to come under fire because of it. We've been seeing a lot of businesses that talk about how they value diversity and how inclusion is their number one value in their business, and they support anti-racism and racial inequality. But when we look back, it seems like their actions or their executive board, the things that they actually do, don't really reflect that. In fact, they might reflect the opposite. In other words, as the kids might say, they don't have receipts for these things that they're saying. So even if for no other reason than, you don't want to be canceled, man, I am super hip, huh? I know. If for no other reason than you don't want to be looked at poorly by the public or canceled by the public, that may be reason enough for you to actually value diversity and inclusion and anti-racism and supporting anti-discrimination and all of these things. Aside from that, it should actually be highly valued within your business because it actually brings high value to your business. To value diversity and inclusion within your business actually increases the value and your reach and your ability to be successful and your ability to flourish in your business. Making diversity and inclusion an important value in your business, this means including voices and backgrounds and perspectives and point of views and opinions that are different from yours. And valuing these things helps support your existing workforce, and it helps to let them know that you value and appreciate them, not in spite of their differences, but because of their differences, and that's what you value in them. And so, of course, this is going to make people want to do good work for you, and it gives them a reason to care about what they're doing and your business. If your employees know that they are valued and that they are cared about and the things that they care about are valued, then they will in return care about the things that you care about, including your business. So let me tell y'all a little story. I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit here. I was looking to hire an administrative assistant early last year, and I did not specifically set out to hire a Black person, but I was specifically looking to hire a person who was different from me. I wanted someone who would bring something new to the table, a different perspective, a different point of view, different life experiences, different thoughts on the world in general. That was what I wanted because I already have a me. I already have a person with my thoughts and opinions, my experience, my life experience. And so I don't need another one of me. I want someone who can bring something different to the table. So that's what I was looking for. I eventually found and ended up hiring Mariah, who is absolutely amazing and who is also Black. Again, I didn't hire her because she's Black, but I hired her because she was great for the job and she was different than me. She's younger than me. She grew up in a different part of the country than I did. She has a different family relationship than I do, and she's a different color than me. So the things that she brings to the table are going to be pretty different from what I can bring. It's always been very important to me to represent diversity and inclusiveness through my business, like with social media or content. I want to make sure my social media isn't just filled with pictures of white people. I want to represent different people in my content and on my posts and all of that. And I want to make sure I don't fill up my team with all one thing as well, all people who look and think like me. But this thing, which was previously pretty important, it naturally increased as soon as Mariah joined my team. Since she has different perspectives, she thinks differently, she naturally gravitates towards things that connect with her. Her involvement in my business has just organically increased the diversity of the organization. Like I will have her help with social media posts or finding stock photos for content that we're creating, and she just naturally gravitates towards things that connect to her and that she's familiar with. And that includes photos of people of color. I think generally as humans, we kind of gravitate towards things that are familiar to us, things that we recognize, things that we're comfortable with. And so for her, it's not necessarily that she's specifically looking for stock photos with Black people. She's just connecting more. She's noticing those, she's gravitating more towards those, because of her difference in her life and her color and her experience and all of that. Or if I ask her to reach out to someone potentially that we want to partner with or collaborate with, or for her to research other service providers that we might want to work with, she already has a very different community and a very different circle than I do. Much of it consists of other Black professionals. So just by her doing that, I have now increased the number of people of color and the diversity within my organization, because when she seeks those people out, she's seeking out people that I would never think to seek out, just by virtue of her and I being different. Again, I did not hire Mariah because she's Black. I hired her because she was right for the position and would bring something new and different to the table because she's different from me. She has really single-handedly added immense value to my business because she just naturally connects with communities and individuals who I wouldn't. So now that we know why it's important to make diversity and inclusion an important value of your business, now that we know why, here are some ways that you can actually take actionable, tangible steps to make a difference within your business. The first thing to do, particularly if you're hiring or thinking about hiring people and putting out job posts, is use results or goals-based job descriptions. So what I mean by this is focusing less on the qualifications or the prerequisites for the applicants and focus more on the expectations of the role and what you're going to be expecting from the person in that position. Because when we focus on things like you must have this degree, or you must have this number of years of experience, or these specific skills, doing that just automatically removes people who may potentially be very right for the job. They're just missing that one qualification. Not having gone to college doesn't necessarily mean that you aren't qualified for a specific position. But if an applicant sees that a college degree is a prerequisite, then they may not apply, even though they may be very suitable for the job. So when we focus more on the goals or the results of the position, that opens up the pool of candidates to more people, including a more diverse pool of people who might be great for the role, even though they don't meet the specific requirements that you might want. Another really great thing to do is conducting blind screenings of applicants. So what does this mean? Basically removing any elements of a resume or a job application which might cause some unconscious bias in the hiring manager. And so what I like to do, what I suggest doing for this purpose is if you're accepting applications, have all the applications go to one person before they get to you or whoever is making the hiring decisions. Send it to one person to first filter and review the applications, get rid of anyone who's clearly not right for the job, and create, this pool of potential candidates for you to remove or for you to review. And then prior to you getting those applications or those job applications or the resumes, have that person remove any details from those resumes or those applications which might cause a bias. And what I mean by that is have them remove like photos. I've received resumes where it's the person's photo is included on the application, which I like. I like seeing the beautiful faces of the people who apply to work with me, but that can cause some unconscious bias in my head, or even if it doesn't, it can appear that it's causing some bias or that I'm intentionally discriminating against someone. If they're a different color or if they look like they came from some other place, either way, remove photos. This also goes with names. If a name of an applicant might indicate that they come from a certain nationality or a certain culture, or a certain area, anything like that. If it's some kind of name that might give you some indication of who the person is, have that removed. Same thing with years of like graduation, not necessarily college graduations, but I receive applications where it says the year that the person graduated from high school. That lets me figure out pretty close how old the person probably is. So removing those dates or years, as well as removing like geographical indicators. So if there's if someone's application says they went to high school in a certain location, maybe outside of the country, or if they went to college, if their degree is from an international university or something, I recommend taking those out or redacting those details, because that if it's a university in a foreign country, that might lend itself to some unconscious bias in the managing or the hiring manager's head. So the idea, the purpose of this is to remove anything that might cause a bias in whoever's reviewing the applications, so that we're solely focusing on the person's qualifications and the person's position for this role. Another great way to make diversity and inclusion a major value in your business is to give your employees grace with regard to their work hours. Give some flexibility, give them grace in situations where they want to participate in something that is important to their culture or their history or their background. Now, in some situations, particularly with like religious holidays, sometimes we are actually required to give people time off. Under the Civil Rights Act and all that, we can't discriminate based on religion. So sometimes if a person needs time off because of a religious purpose, we have to do that. But even outside of what we have to do, it's also great to give time off for things that people want to do because it's important for them or their background, their family, their history, things like that. Little example, just real quick, I told Mariah, my assistant, that I would pay her if she wanted to take time off to participate in Black Lives Matter protests or get involved in rallies or go to any events or anything like that. I want her to know that I support her and I support the things that are important to her. And I didn't like the idea of her having to choose between making an income and being involved in something that's really important to her. So this is an example of how you can do that, giving flexibility or giving grace for your team members and your employees to be involved in things that they care about. Kind of along those same lines, acknowledge important dates or holidays, religions, and cultural practices that might be different. We've all probably been to an office Christmas party. Christmas parties are kind of going by the wayside, and we're seeing a lot more holiday parties. Now, this move to holiday parties, that's a great first step, but it's certainly not the end of what we can do. It's important to be aware of and acknowledge and honor holidays or practices that might be important to your staff. And don't force them to celebrate only the things that you believe are important. I've got an example of this. So I had a boss in law school. I was interning with a lawyer in law school, and this lawyer wouldn't close the office for Martin Luther King Day. Every other federal holiday, Memorial Day, Labor Day, every other holiday, sure, no problem. We're shutting down, take the day off, enjoy your time. But MLK Day, he didn't think that it was worthy of shutting down, even though the government says it is. He did not believe that it was worth celebrating. And I didn't like this. And I think this is a perfect example of what not to do and a great way to alienate your Black employees. And really, it makes me wonder if he would have said that same thing to me if I had been Black, or if he would have given me the day off. But either way, just because a holiday isn't important to you doesn't mean that it's not important to your employees. And by telling them that it's not important to you, that's really not going to do you any good at all. Finally, the last, and I think the best thing you can do to increase diversity and inclusion as major values in your business is to listen. Listen to your team. Ask them questions. Ask them questions about what they need, because they might not always feel comfortable just coming to you. But ask them questions about what they need. Ask for their opinions and their input. Get to know the things that are important to them, and most importantly, listen to what they say, and listen to what they want and what they need from you as employees or otherwise. Just listen to the people on your team. So, it may have been okay to get away with this nominal diversity thing in the past, where we say we're diverse, but we're not actually doing anything in the background. But as we're seeing more and more, that's not really enough anymore. So if diversity and inclusion have not previously been an actual important thing for you and your business, now is the time to make some changes, really for the good of our people and the good of our world, but also the good of your business. That's all for this episode, folks. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. And let me know what steps or actions you have taken or will take to ensure that diversity and inclusion are a top priority in your business. I would love to know what you all are doing as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Aiden Durham, and I'll see you next time.